I've turned Palworld into an open world RPG version of the saying in 1492. From the discovery to trading and introducing the locals to new wares, to the eventual exploitation, extermination, and expansion of my own kingdom. Like the great Alexander once said,
"Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make."
Hey everybody, I've spent the last 500 in-game days and over 300 real-life hours working on a project that I set for myself a little over a month ago, Colonizing Palworld. There was just something about seeing these little sheep and cats run around in something that I built that gave me a feeling that I didn't know I needed. Now, if you've seen any of my videos before this, all of the builds that I have done have been in effort for this project. They have all been built in specific areas on purpose, as they will become centerpieces or point of interest for their respective areas. And if you haven't, then you should check them out. I'll put a thing right over here, right there. It's just a game. It's not that deep.
To you.
For me, this game was released around a time where, I was kind of struggling and feeling a lack of purpose. I was falling into bad and repetitive routines, and for a long time, I had no outlet for anything creative. And that's part of the reason why I haven't been able to put this game down. I haven't even beaten all the tower bosses. I haven't completed the PAL decks. I don't have all of the legendary schematics. I'm not running the most optimized setups for production. I haven't bred for the best passives or condensed for levels or any of that. Now, that's not saying I haven't done it at all. I have a decent enough pocket worker Anubis. I have a couple legendary schematics. I've farmed some skill point books and so on. It's just not the main reason I play this game. But I have started working towards something that I feel will be an incredible highlight in terms of what I achieve creatively. Colonizing the entirety of Palworld's Palworld Island. I haven't finished, and I don't know how long it's going to take, but I can guarantee that when it's done, it will be incredible. And I look forward to sharing that with each and every one of you. And if you have any ideas or suggestions, I'd love to hear them. I do have a plan already, but you never know. It all started on January 20th when I downloaded the game. I was in a Pokemon phase at the time. Ironically, I had been farming Dynamax adventures for shinies, and I was working towards finishing the DLC for Scarlet. Oh yeah, and I was playing Unite. Oh, and I was reorganizing all my cards. Anyway, I built my first base. It was literally nothing special, and I couldn't figure out how to place a wall underneath the slanted roof. It drove me insane. But I remember sitting there for a couple minutes, just watching my little land balls, my Cativas picking things up, delivering them to chests, mining rocks, going on about their duties, and something just sparked inside my brain. I don't know what it was, but I wanted to see these little guys run around in everything and anything that I could imagine. First thought, I need more bases. I spent the time, I leveled up, and eventually, I got my second base and started building. Slowly, as I amassed materials, I would renovate and expand and build up and unlock new pieces to the puzzle that was being put together in my head. One of those pieces being these cool emotes I made for the boss. And if you want to support him and the channel, you can do that by clicking the little link down in the pinned comment. Anyways, soon after, I started working on my real first creative build, which is still a work in progress, by the way, my hot springs. This was towards the beginning of February. I would work on this build for several hours before eventually moving on. I just felt like I wasn't skilled enough to do what I wanted to do, and it definitely wasn't gonna turn out like how I envisioned it. However, it is still there, waiting for me to come back, and I plan to, when I can give it the proper creative care that it deserves. The next build is kind of what set everything in motion for me, my tiny house, which was destined for demolition right from the start. It was small, it had some charm, and I just thought, what if there's a whole village of these? Which snowballed into, what if there's a whole kingdom of villages? Which eventually led me to think, what if I just colonized the whole map? But seriously, why not? Wouldn't that look incredible flying over? Or seeing a whole small kingdom on an island across the sea, or hell, the map? Of course it would. So, I started. All while pushing the limits of what I could do creatively and mechanically. I thought for about a day, honestly, about where to start. For some reason, I just kept thinking about elves and trees, and that led me to my treehouse, which took me about 2 days to get right. Now, when I say days, I don't mean 24-hour days or in-game 1 day. It's more like 3 or 4 hours a day, unless it's a weekend, then maybe 5 or 6. After it was all said and done, I was incredibly proud of the build and the visuals and my floating bridge of benches. By the way, I love benches, if you didn't know. And I was even pleasantly surprised with the location. It was just atop a hill of similar trees. It had this real, this is my throne feel to it when I really started to embrace the build and the scenery together. Now, I haven't finished the Treehouse Kingdom, or location, or whatever you want to call it, but I have since started expanding this specific one. Shortly after finishing that, I made a note in my phone one night in bed. It's a rough draft, and by rough, I mean it's since changed dramatically. I won't show the new ideas yet, gotta keep my cards close, but this little scribble was the foundation. I started working on my centerpieces, and with each build, I learned a little bit more about how to push my limits. With the tiny house, I learned about functionality and that you don't really need to put the bed somewhere the pals can sleep on. You can just hide everything. The treehouse, I really learned how to make something that is visually pleasing. And also, I practically mastered the benches.
I'm kind of a big deal.
To make it, I had to take a small row of benches on a single roof, about 2 stories lower than where I wanted them. And even when I built all the way up, there was still a whole roof piece of distance that I needed to make up. So I had to get creative. With my hanging build, I learned the concept of building down below foundations. It was also one of the first builds that I just started off with a rectangle. I would add sections, delete sections, and quickly learned as things get farther away from the main foundation, it doesn't look better if it gets wider. With my C-stacks, I learned how to fully flesh out an idea in a small space. Both of my builds have glaring problems, and I can see that now. I took these lessons and this knowledge and decided to start working on my first project within the overarching project. My real first village, town, kingdom, build, whatever you want to call it. I felt I had built up enough nuanced knowledge to fully realize a creative vision within whatever constraints the developers have put on the building mechanics. At first, this project was going to be built around a drawbridge, and I built one. And then I decided that one wasn't good enough, so I built another one. And then I decided that one wasn't good enough, so I tore it down completely and ended up with the build that can be seen in my bridge building guide. I've spent so many hours in this location now. It's my favorite spot, really. It has everything you could ever want in terms of environment, terrain, visuals, to build around, and to build with. Now, my building style is destructive, to say the least. I will build up a full base or building, and if something looks slightly off, I'll destroy the whole thing. That's why it can take me many hours and sessions to build a single building. Though they are not typically quote-unquote small buildings, they don't necessarily take up a full PAL box radius. But you see, I started to run into a problem. With every new build, I would have to take all the chest materials to my main base, destroy the old PAL box, move to the new location, build a new PAL box, and then start transferring loads of materials at a time. And it started to become so mundane that I had to go looking for some solutions. And I found 3 mods that would solve all of my issues. Raising the limit of the number of bases, a unified base inventory, and a range expander. Now this is a game changer. I started working on a floating castle in the snow biome, which led me to think about what kind of area this biome would be. Which led me to build a hobbit hole attached to a monstrous conglomeration of walls. That's definitely the nicest way I can put that.
Yeah, no kidding.
And somewhere between working on that castle and working on the first village, I discovered something. I could forcefully connect foundations to walls and stairs. And this would allow me, or you, to extend the supportive foundations through which you normally couldn't, which has revolutionized everything that I thought was possible for these builds. I could build singular structures entirely off cliffs that look like they are connected with one stair, or build over terrains, or connect foundations to whatever grade in the slope. It's almost like it was a... And while I haven't been able to build anything with this yet, besides a giant staircase, I'm incredibly excited about what's to come. My notes are full of inspiration, as well as deep planning and measurements for one build in particular that I know will be incredible. I felt like 500 days was a big milestone, for me specifically. I have a real hard time with hobbies and staying interested for longer than a couple weeks. But being able to share it with all you fantastic people has helped tremendously, so I just want to say thank you for being on this journey with me. Everyone has been incredibly kind, and I look forward to sharing more builds now that you know what I've been doing. If you made it this far, thank you again. Let me know what your thoughts are below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed or are interested in what's going to come in the future. Hit the bell if you don't want to miss an upload. Anyways, peace, love your friends, and I guess we'll just have to see what the next 500 days have in store. Okay, bye.